Hey everybody, and welcome to Let's Look at Offworld Trading Company. This is a real-time strategy game, currently in early access. I know I've been covering a lot of early access stuff lately. Truth be told, there's actually just been a lot of really interesting early access stuff that I feel comfortable covering because it's actually more than just a glorified tech demo that maybe will never go anywhere. Anyway, that's a whole different discussion for a different video. It's a real-time strategy game currently in early access, published by Stardock and developed by Mohawk Games. This is the first game from them, but Soren Johnson is the creative director of the game. He was the lead designer or the creative director of Civilization 4. He also worked on Spore, and Civilization 3 worked at Firaxis for like 7 years or something like that. But this is the first game they've made since, quote-unquote, going a little bit more indie, maybe. Unlike your average real-time strategy game, which I wouldn't even be covering because I'm terrible at micro, this is not 4X style, you know, exploit, expand the other X's. Instead, this is all about, you know, the 1E economy. This is basically a game where you try to get economic dominance over your opponents by basically producing commodities and then controlling the commodities market and then buying their companies, basically. It's a really interesting take on the real-time strategy genre. It's been very engaging and a little bit less punishing, like a little bit less off-putting, because it feels like the skill floor is a little bit lower, which I mean in a good way. For people like me that basically just can't play StarCraft very well, or can't play Warcraft, or, you know, Grey Goo or anything like that, because our micro skills just don't exist or have not been developed. Anyway, I want to talk about the elephant in the room just before we get started. It's early access, and it's a Stardock early access release. GalCiv 3, I believe, was like $100 in its alpha form, and that sparked a lot of discussion. I still covered the early build of GalCiv 3, and I thought it was pretty cool, but at the same time, it's like, you know, it's definitely cost prohibitive. I'm not sure if it's deliberately cost prohibitive or what, but the Offworld Trading Company right now is $44 Canadian after its opening week 10% sale is over, which equates to about $36 American. For what you get in the current build, that is probably a little bit cost prohibitive, unless you're, like, really invested in what you see going on here. I would think that you would probably want to wait until maybe a full release and then reevaluate whether or not you'd want to purchase it at that price. However, what I will say is that if you take the price out of the equation, which obviously not everyone is able to do, and that's totally fine, this is a really engaging real-time strategy game, and one of the few games within that genre that does kind of have that Civilization kind of addictiveness and pull that has me saying, like, okay, we're just gonna do one more game, just gonna do one more game, just gonna do one more game. I played about 3 or 4 hours of it so far. Let's start to talk about it. So, there is multiplayer. I haven't checked it out at all, basically, right now, because I feel like I would be intimidated to play against the people who are not just AI, where I can tweak their difficulty, but if you are interested, there is online multiplayer. You know, that's kind of a caveat emptor, if you will. If you want to see if that has maybe a little bit more... If you can find someone that tells you whether or not that's reliable, I would advise you to do so, because I've only played the single player thus far, which is the norm for me in strategy games, because people that play strategy games online are often, like, really good. But anyway, we're just going to do a single quick play game here to show off what's going on. The basics I'll explain once we actually get into the game, but you do have stuff where you can... you know, tweak basic settings and stuff like that, like the amount of resources on the map, the amount of AI players, you know, the difficulty, and it goes all the way up here. There's 6 difficulty levels. We're going to play on employee. I think there might be 7 difficulty levels, and maybe employee, like, fits in the middle here. Map size medium is fine. I'm just going to have one AI competitor just so I don't get messed with all that much. There's all sorts of things that you can throw out against your opponents that are annoying, and I would like to avoid them as much as possible. I mean, if we wanted to do that, we could do, like, no black market, and that would prevent us from being sabotaged. But anyway, we're just going to get started here, and then I'll pause it. Flat out, Offworld Trading Company is one of the coolest opening phases of any strategy game I've ever played. It is a pausable real-time strategy game, at least when you're playing against the AI. I'm not sure how it works when you're playing against real humans. But, before I talk about what actually goes on in this opening section here, I'm going to talk a little bit about the interface of what you're seeing right now. First off, there's no races in the game technically, like species or classes or anything like that. Instead, you kind of have different philosophies for your business. You can be expansive, or you can be robotic, or you can be a scavenger, or you can be scientific. Now, each one of these has different perks. Expansive needs 50% less steel for buildings, and every time they upgrade their HQ, they get more claims. And what claims are is basically just a piece of land that you can build something on. You need to upgrade your HQ to get more claims, to build more mines, to build more solar panels and stuff like that, to make more money, basically. Robotic, they do not rely on food, water, or oxygen, because if you're a human class here, for lack of a better word, because I just said there were no classes. You need food and water to support your population and to, you know, have labor that actually runs your machines and your mines and stuff like that. Robotic doesn't need that. Instead, they use electronics, which is a kind of like a secondary resource that you create. Scavenger, admittedly, I've never played as Scavenger or Scientific. I've only played as Expansive and Robotic, mostly Expansive because it seems like kind of the most basic, not to say that it's easier, but the most basic to understand from a previous strategy game standpoint. Scavenger uses carbon as their base resource instead of steel, and they use the black market more frequently, which basically allows them to sabotage other units. And then Scientific also uses steel, like the first two units, but they also get faster researching of stuff like that. So I'm probably going to play Expansive here. But here's the way that the game opens. You have to choose where to put a base. Now, you're going to want to put a base somewhere that has good resources that are, you know, conducive to you actually expanding, if you're going to be expansive at least. So I'm going to be looking for a lot of iron, a lot of aluminum. It would be nice if there was like a geothermal vent for extra power. It would be nice if there was water nearby, but probably we're going to have to make a compromise in one of those areas. So you see here it says 0% explored, and we have the 6 number here. That means we have 6 scans. This is still paused, by the way.
Low levels of carbon.
So with 6 scans, we actually have like I wouldn't necessarily call it a hex, but a certain area that we can click on, and this will reveal areas on the map. So as there's a geothermal vent next to a bunch of aluminum, that might be useful for us. But as I'm doing this, the AI will be doing this as well and slowly revealing the map. So we both start with kind of like the same fog of war, and in a sense, it's actually like a little bit of a race to see who can find a spot that they want to put their base down on first. And every couple of seconds, you get an extra scan that you can use. I hope that's like iron. It's water. So we have like a lot of water and a lot of aluminum, but I really want to find some iron before I choose where to put down my base. So it's this kind of cool, like, you know, recon thing that you're doing to try to figure out where the best place to put your base is, and I'm starting to realize that we're not really finding anything good, but I gotta put down soon, otherwise the AI is gonna put down. That's so much aluminum, but oh, maybe this will be iron, and then I could probably justify taking that sweet aluminum spot. That's silicone, come on, come on, come on. Iron, okay, I'm gonna pause for a second. I am going to put down my base, like, somewhere close to the aluminum. Actually, maybe somewhere close to the geothermal vent. Yeah, that seems pretty good. So, when you found your base, you do get the resources that you place it on, but unfortunately there's like a lot of hills around, so I can't really place it on this aluminum. I'm gonna have to mine it, which is maybe gonna leave me a little bit behind the 8 ball. Keep in mind, I'm still terrible at this game, even though I've not played, or I've played a little bit of it. Yeah, we can't found over here closer to the water, but this seems like a pretty good start. We can found here, build a geothermal vent, which will give us a lot of power to run our systems, and then, you know, put a mine on this aluminum, put a mine on maybe this iron over here, and that'll give us the primary resources we need to get started. Alright, so we have placed that down. Let's talk a little bit about the interface, because we are playing a real-time strategy game. Might be a little bit tricky to understand what's going on without actually having played it yourself. First things first, this is our HQ. Part of the crux of the progression of the game is upgrading your HQ so that you have more claims. Right now we only have 3 claims. That means we can only build 3 buildings, which is actually really problematic because we're going to be using a lot of different resources. Our ultimate goal of the game is basically to produce, well, it's to get enough money to buy out all of your opponent's stock, basically. I'm not sure what actually dictates the stock price. I assume it's based on, you know, like a function of their economic output plus free cash or something like that. But let's say, you know, his stock is right now $5 per share. We could buy 1,000 shares. Every company has 10,000 shares for $5,000. If you buy 100% of your opponent's company, you win. That's the only win condition of the game right now. Games typically go pretty fast. Like they tend to end in under a half hour, in my experience thus far. The tutorials were a little bit easier, of course, but the AI is actually, on this level, is pretty ferocious by my standards, and I'm far from, you know, a guru for stuff like that. So basically, our goal is to make money to the point where we can actually buy out our opponent's stock. And the way that we do that is by producing resources, and we have a commodities market basically over here on the right side. So you can see, you know, there's the cost for a unit of power, it's 10 bucks. There's the cost for a unit of water, it's 10 bucks. And this is the current amount that we hold, and over here will be the amount that we produce per second. So it's all really easily displayed. Your goal, I mean, to put it in maybe a little bit more of a simple context, a practical context, your goal is to probably tailor your economy so that it's producing resources that sell for a lot of money. These prices will fluctuate as there's more supply and demand. It's a really cool, you know, I don't know how accurate it is, but I don't really care because I'm playing a video game. It's a really cool simulation of a real commodities market, which is kind of neat. Also, you can do things. You can influence the market. Like if your opponent had like a lot of steel and you had a lot of steel, you could flood the market with steel, drive the price down so that they can't liquidate a bunch of steel and then buy a bunch of your stock. It's a totally different way to play a real-time strategy game, and it's a really unique way to do so. But anyway, let's get started here. First things first, I'm going to build a geothermal plant. You can see what it costs us there. We don't have the resources necessary to build it, but we can build it anyway because we can purchase the materials from the commodity market. So you can see it'll cost us 25 aluminum, 25 steel, because that's what we're holding. It's what we started with. But also, we'll throw in the extra money required to buy the rest of it on the market. So that'll build a geothermal plant, which will generate 2 power, which is enough to drive things positively for us. But I'll just let that go for a second here.
Scientific colony.
Oh, they did just found their own colony. I don't pause this much when I play myself, so they founded their colony over here by the water. Even though they're there, there's no like civilization-style border that means like I can't build what's basically a tile improvement near them. So if I wanted to go to this water location, I totally could build on that water location. It would probably piss them off. In fact, let's do so right now. Now, if you build something right next to your, so it's touching your HQ, it just automatically, the resources there or the power that gets generated automatically comes to your HQ. If you build something far away, and a lot of the stuff that you build is going to be far away, you actually have to have a transport, but it's done automatically. A transport will run back and forth, bringing the resources, you know, ferrying them back to your HQ, and that will cost you fuel, which we can make more of by making electrolysis reactors. But anyway, we'll send out a water pump to get built next to his base, and he's going to send out a metal mine. I hope that's not coming for the iron over here. I hope that's not coming for the iron over here. We should probably build a metal mine ourselves. The problem is, in the early game, I oftentimes do find myself... What do we need to upgrade here? 4,000. Need some steel. I oftentimes do find myself struggling a little bit to get my economy off the ground. You know, it's a very tough time to start with. You ignore the voice in the background. It's freaking me out here. Okay, so we have built the first water pump in the game here. So this is going to give us some water, which will actually allow us to generate... generate some, well, not only surplus water, but also we could sell this on the market to get some extra money. But this is the important screen right here. Right now, we're consuming 0.2 power per second. This is how much that's going to cost us. That is going to increase our debt. We also are consuming 0.2 food, and we're consuming 0.05 oxygen. Once this actually gets built in about, 10 seconds here, our power is not going to be a problem. You only make money when you also have power, because otherwise you're spending all your money buying power to power your stuff, which is just costing you more money. So yeah, now we should start making money again, and you can see our debt fell to 0. So we're making a little bit of money on a per second basis, maybe like $30 or something like that. And we have 1 claim left. Let me, I paused it. Let me see what they did. So they built on this iron mine over here, even though it was a low supply of iron. I don't know why. Another thing I really like about this game, by the way, I didn't talk about it, but let's say we wanted to build, what have we already built? We've only built water and we built geothermal plant. Let's say we want to build an aluminum mine. We can go over here and we can just mouse over and it'll tell us, almost like SimCity style, even though I don't like SimCity 2013. I don't want to necessarily evoke too many comparisons to that game for obvious reasons, but it's a very clear display of how many resources you will get if you plunk down on a specific area, which I think is really cool. We can also see, these are all the buildings that we can build to basically generate the resource that we're talking about here. So it's very clear, although it does have a little bit of a learning curve. The first time you play it, you'll be like, okay, we're losing food. We just mouse over, and then you go, okay, well, if I get a hydroponic farm, I can put that down like right here. That'll give me 0.5 food. I'll stop having to buy food, but it will cost us 1 water. But we'll be able to make that happen. The question is, is that the best thing for us long term? Short term, that would probably save us money. Long term, maybe it would be better for us to build a steel mill, for example. Even though we don't have iron or aluminum input, it might be the best thing for us to build a steel mill so that we can produce steel and thus upgrade our HQ. Why do we want to upgrade our HQ? Because that gives us more claims, which allows us to build more buildings, which allows us to make more money. It's a little bit, it's a little bit less obvious what you're supposed to do versus a game like, let's say, StarCraft, where basically the objective of the game, and I know that it's versatile and there's many ways to accomplish it, but the objective of the game is basically to blow up your opponent. It's a little bit more indirect, and I think that's kind of cool. But it does have a learning curve associated with it because of the fact that it's unique. So we have to decide what to do with our last claim here. Because we're making a decent amount of money, and I don't think food or oxygen are going to hurt us that much, I think we should probably try to mine either aluminum or iron, and I think I'm going to go for... I mean, iron's a little scarcer, so I think I'll probably go for iron. even though aluminum is close by. Maybe we'll go for aluminum because it's close by. I'm not sure if that actually costs us less fuel because the transport has less, you know, distance to travel, but we'll see. So the most important thing is that, you know, we're just making money. Because as long as we're making money, it doesn't really matter what resources we're producing. To some extent, we should be able to upgrade our HQ at some point. You can see right now we need $4,390. We can't do that yet, but we will be able to do that as we get more aluminum, because that cost for aluminum is going to go down as we produce it. I understand that this might be confusing, but I think I think you're probably figuring out what's going on here. Right now, we enter what I would consider to be maybe a little bit of a waiting game. There are auctions that take place. I'm actually going to try to buy this auction. It's almost like Monopoly style. I'm going to spend, hopefully, $4,000. Man, I don't really want to spend $6,000 on this. That's for you, Mr. Patton. This is an auction for a claim, which basically would just give us +1 claim that we could use to get another building made. I wanted that because I wanted to build another building, maybe like a steel mill or an iron mine as quickly as possible, but hopefully I just sabotaged him a little bit. There's other things that we can get auctions for, like certain plots of land. You know, we can get the right to build on them. That gives us the exclusive right to build on them. They'll have auctions for pirates. We can use pirates to sabotage like a resource that our opponent is using. And the black market should come online. Yeah, it comes online in 10 seconds, and we can use that for sabotage. I probably won't. Oh, I do have enough to upgrade our HQ here. Do I have enough aluminum? Yeah, so I'm only paying for steel. Sure, let's upgrade our HQ right now and spend our money. This gave us 5 more claims. So I'm going to, yeah, I know we're going to be able to ship more industry, lady. I'm going to build an iron mine here, followed by a steel mill, because steel is kind of the base resource that, you know, we need in order to build anything in the game. So I want to get an iron mine going, and I want to get a steel mill so that we can produce more steel so we can upgrade ourselves in the future. Food surplus. So there's a surplus of food, which means food's going to be cheap. So actually, this is kind of like a, you know, a gold rush aspect of the game. That's bringing the price of food down. So as it gets low here, I'm gonna buy a bunch of food because the price just fell through the bottom. So I created a big surplus of food myself, so that even though it is getting eroded here, you know, we bought low, so we'll be able to, you know, consume food without spending more money than we probably deserve. So paying attention to stuff like that can be pretty useful, even though I still suck at the game. Alright, so I wanted to build a steel mill as well. But what is important is that, this is not the best conditions to build this. But anyway, what is important is that, everything that you build has a reward, but it also has a cost associated with it. Oh man, we have a dust storm. I've actually never seen one of those. I don't know how that's going to affect things. But anyway, it's certainly causing debt to rise. Maybe because we're having more trouble actually transporting our primary materials here. But anyway, it has a cost associated with it, but it also has a benefit. For example here, our steel mill produces steel, but it costs iron and costs power as well. So we end up spending a lot of power to make that happen. If you ever end up not getting power, you basically stop getting money because you have to buy it at cost, which is not good. So we're really spending a lot of money on fuel, which is causing our debt to go up. So we might want to build an electrolysis reactor, which will consume oxygen. Or no, it produces... I don't really want this claim. It produces oxygen and fuel, but it requires water. So it's going to take maybe 1 water. Yeah, so our water supply is going to dwindle. Again, everything has kind of a trade-off associated with it. Our water supply is going to dwindle, but it's going to produce enough fuel and enough oxygen to kind of keep us at equilibrium. You're always, at least in my experience with the game, none of these... You're never going to have all of these in the black, basically. You're always going to be buying something for more than it would cost you to make it yourself, but the goal is kind of to use that to produce things that give you even more gains from trade, basically. So once this electrolysis reactor starts running, we should... Oh, but I guess because the electrolysis reactor is not right next to our base, it actually ended up costing us a little bit of fuel. But no, now it's starting to reverse. So we're still losing money on food. But we can help that out by liquidating like some of our aluminum here. Notice that as we sell more aluminum, the price of aluminum goes down, and as we sell more iron, the price of iron goes down, because we're basically flooding the market here. We can also sell water. I'm going to sell like 100 water right here, just to give us some more money, and then we're going to pay off all of our debt, just to make sure that, you know, that doesn't accrue too much interest, because it does, and I guess we need to buy some fuel. There we go. So now we've got a supply of fuel. But we're still consuming a little bit too much. But now that we're kind of in the black, our debt is going down again. And again, the basic overall goal of the game is to make money. We have 1.1 power. All right, I'm going to build a pleasure dome, which is just a great name, but also consumes 1 power to basically give us money per tick, which is great because, you know, the goal of the game is to make money. So once this actually ends up being built, we're going to be a little bit low on power. We'll probably want to build like a solar panel or a wind turbine pretty soon to make sure that we can still run all of our stuff, but we'll also have more money coming in on a regular basis. So I still, oh my god, oxygen surplus. Maybe we want to buy some oxygen then as the price goes down. I'm spending a lot more money than I'd like to admit on fuel here, and we're actually using it pretty quickly, so we might want to make another electrolysis reactor as well. Unless this one is currently like not working for whatever reason. It seems like it should be working, but maybe I've got it running and not the best capacity. Alright, now that the pleasure dome is up, again, I'm just going to pay down my debt. Now that the pleasure dome is up, we'll get money per tick. The goal of the game is to make money. This takes a lot of power, but basically it's just, you know, power in, money out, which is really useful. We may want to start buying, oh man, the price of oxygen is so low now. We'll buy a big surplus of that. We may want to start, oh, another oxygen surplus. Alright, we can buy some pirates if we want to. I feel like I'm bouncing all over the place here with what I'm actually talking about, but hopefully you're picking up a little bit of what's going on here. The interface, even though it's early access, is actually pretty elegant, even though there's a... I'll pause it for a second. Even though there's a lot of stuff on the go, it's really easy to figure out what's going on. Basically, my chain of thought is like, okay, I'm losing money. Why am I losing money? I have 0 fuel and am spending a ton of money per fuel unit to bring it back. Okay, how do we fix that? Well, we can just click this button right here to buy some, which wouldn't be the worst idea in the world maybe to stop us from losing money, or we can build another electrolysis reactor. And then when you go to put down an electrolysis reactor, you can say like, oh, see, if we put it here, this is what we're going to earn from it. We actually gained a 50% bonus because of its adjacency. There is like an XCOM style adjacency. But oh no, what's this going to cost? Well, then you mouse over the electrolysis reactor and you go, oh, that consumes 1 water. We only have 0.03 or 0.3 water right now. That doesn't seem that good for us, but we have a huge amount in surplus right now. So we could actually totally afford to build an electrolysis reactor. I am going to build it on top of like one of these aluminum tiles, but I don't think that matters all that much. And that's my last claim. So the next thing we have to do is upgrade our HQ, which is why I have this steel mill over here, which is, you know, producing steel on a regular basis. You can see we're making 0.5 steel every second. You know, eventually this cost will come down, or we'll get enough money that we can upgrade again and build more stuff because we'll have more claims. Or we could just, you know, is this okay? Now it's built. Hopefully that helps out with our fuel here. We could just maybe start trying to buy our opponent's stock, basically. If we end up getting enough money. Like, our stock price is pretty high. It's going to cost our opponent a lot of money if they want to buy stuff that we're, or if they want to buy our stock. Energy surplus. Maybe that'll make power a little cheaper. Unfortunately, I am a little bit, I'm barely producing more power than I'm using. And sometimes, like, when the deliveries of the supplies come in, I think we're going to overdraw from the geothermal vent. So we should really, when we get another claim, whether we buy that from an auction or we upgrade our HQ. Iron shortage. Oh, this is so good. We can sell the crap out of it. We have so much iron. Yeah, just wait till it gets high, and I'm going to sell, like... Yeah, that's as high as it's going to go. I sold 100. Oh, I bought 100. No, sell it. And sell it again. Okay. So we made a lot of money there. And we can upgrade our HQ, which I'm going to do because I need power. After this, we'll probably focus on buying our opponent's stock. So we can build solar panels or we can build wind turbines. I think I'm going to go for wind turbines because solar panels don't work at night. It doesn't mean they're necessarily worse because they generate more power per time. But if it's, you know, a dust storm or something, maybe they don't get visibility either. Anyway, I guess the difference, you know, the analog, I should say, to a normal real-time strategy game or a traditional real-time strategy game with, you know, you could do like a Zerg Rush tactic or something like that is, you know... Colony expanded. Oh, they expanded their colony to level 2. So I'm doing pretty well, I think, relative to them. The analog is, you know, instead of doing a Zerg Rush, you could liquidate a ton of your resources and then buy your opponent's stock quickly and try to push them out of the game. So, you know, I'm going to sell like 100 water here at a really good cost, and I'm going to buy 10,000, or 1,000 shares in Mr. Patent. And that gets, it raises their stock price, admittedly, which makes it harder to buy it in the future. But at the same time, I think it's an advantageous position for us to take. Now, apart from this, you might be wondering, is there like a research tech tree or something like that? Is there, do you upgrade unit types or building types? Sort of. What is this for? A specific plot on the map that is full of aluminum. Excuse me. You want me to bid on that one tile? I'm not paying 4,000 for that. You must be crazy. I don't think I've ever actually successfully purchased an auction in the game. Because I'm always like, I'm not paying for that. Maybe I'm just cheap. We can build things like this, like a patent lab. This allows us to actually get perks. Why don't we build one, even though it's going to slow us down here? We'll pay out of pocket for the amount of glass that we need, or we could build a glass manufactory ourselves. And an engineering lab basically allows you to spec up your buildings to make them produce more units, or produce more resources more efficiently, which is useful. But I'm going to build a patent lab, and we'll see some of the perks. Because if I could get a perk like, say, teleportation, that would allow me to have, I'll go through the list when we have there, but you can get a perk like teleportation that allows you to instantaneously transmit the resources that you make at a factory or a refinery or an electrolysis reactor to your HQ, thereby saving you a ton of fuel in the long term. There is a campaign mode currently included in the game. It's a little bit of a shell. There's some persistence, and you can upgrade basically yourself as time goes on, by hiring new people that make your buildings work faster or more efficiently. Another iron shortage. This is awesome because we were producing a ton of this. I haven't messed around with it that much. I played like a couple of missions and lost and was like, I'm just gonna deal with scrimmaging for now. I bought it again instead of selling it. So stupid. Doesn't matter. With 10,000 gold, we might consider upgrading our HQ, but I actually think I'm just gonna.
I hate those.
Oh, there's pirates. And a steel surplus is bad for us. But I might consider just buying more stock so we can get close to the end game here. Again, that pushes their stock price up. That's okay. Our stock price is killing theirs anyway. You could also, you could play this game in a different way. You could buy stock in yourself early on if you think you're better than your opponent, and then sell it back later when you're doing well at a higher cost. And then, buy opponent stock as a result. We're doing pretty well, though, here. You can see in the log here, it says pirate spotted. Basically, our opponent can use the black market here to, well, maybe you can't do pirates here, but you get pirates in an auction. Surplus of carbon. We might want to buy some carbon, I guess. But you can basically afflict these things on your enemy. Like, for example, what's something that my enemy probably loves? Solar flare. That seems bad. My enemy probably loves having power via this wind turbine. So what if we took some dynamite or an underground nuke, for example? What does it do? Want to do something about it? An underground nuke is the answer. Knocks down all the resources in a tile by 1 level. No, we don't want that. Let me pause for a second. Purchase power surge. Power surges totally rip through buildings connected to one another and disable them for a period of time, and it would totally mean, or it would be totally mean to do a power surge on the tail of a long edge of buildings. Okay. Let's power surge this. That should turn all this stuff online for 4,500 gold, or dollars. Yes, use it here, please. No, you don't understand. There we go. So that'll freeze these 3 buildings. This is an auction for a new claim. I do not need a new claim right now. So this will freeze like all of their power and their aluminum mine, which should like really push them into a deficit, so they're not going to be doing well financially. I was thinking hopefully that drives their stock price down so that it makes it a little cheaper for me to buy it out here. One thing that we might want to do, like, our economy seems to be going real well. I should probably, like, turn off my aluminum mine, just because there's, like, straight up no reason to have 700 aluminum. But, we might want to build, like, a farm. How much is going to use 1 water? We shouldn't build a farm, then, because we're a little bit low on water as is. We could build another pleasure dome, but it'll take too much power. Oh, we got our patent slab, right. So let's look at our patent slab. And pause it here. This stuff is a little bit small in the interface. Admittedly, we can't get teleportation because it's just a little bit too expensive, but it would save us so much on fuel cost that I think I may actually sell some opponent stock to be able to buy teleportation. It takes 1,500. So I'm assuming that that's 1,500 seconds. And when that's done, I will be able to basically liquidate all of our fuel in order to, well, because I won't need it anymore to transport materials, because they'll just teleport, automatically here. So there's some really interesting strategies at play that, I've seriously have not fully mastered, but I've really enjoyed experimenting with the game to figure out what's going on. Visually, it looks good. It looks very civvy. You are rewarded with $2,000. I don't know why, but I'm happy about it. It looks very civvy. And I think it looks pretty good. The music and the sound design is good. They have like this Microsoft Sam style vocoder, or you know, text-to-speech operator that gives you some updates on what's happening in the game. It's a little goofy, in my opinion, but the gameplay itself is really, really engaging and a totally different style of playing a real-time strategy game. That being said, should you buy it at, you know, 35 American dollars in its early access state? For most people, probably not. That being said, you know, I think it's important to tease apart, should you buy a game right now versus is it worth paying attention to this game? Is it worth paying attention to Offworld Trading Company? I think absolutely. If even a strategy game neophyte like me can find a lot of stuff to love here, I think that this is the kind of thing that could really find an audience, you know, amongst people who are more strategy game minded, and it's so unique relative to the other games that occupy the genre that, you know, I think it deserves your attention, is what I'm trying to say, even if you do think it's cost prohibitive right now, which is not necessarily a false opinion. Additionally, you know, it's important to note this isn't really a tycoon game. It is more of a real-time strategy game. I think, you know, some people might be confused by that at first. So our teleport to... Oh, there's a power shortage. Good thing we're already making more. But I'm going to buy some more of my opponent's stock. And I think I'm going to start liquidating stuff. Like, we got a lot of fuel. I'm going to liquidate a lot of our existing fuel because we still have the surplus and start buying opponent's stock. And the snowball is happening right now. I find it pretty unlikely that they're going to be able to come back from this. We're not making a ton of money in the process there. Get an energy vault. I'm not paying 6,000 for that shit, man. You must be crazy. While you're spending all your money on this shit, I am buying up all the stock in your company, and I'm going to take you down. Now, it's worth noting, you know, this game didn't really get into the late game. Once you get a little bit further into the late game, typically you start to produce things like, you know, chemical factories or electronics factories or, you know, glass furnaces. You know, slightly more advanced resources that allow you to further your research and, you know, continue to upgrade your HQ so you can build more stuff. But, you know, we've got an economy here that works pretty much on primary resources and steel. And that has worked out very well for us. And actually fuel, I'm glad we built so much fuel because it seems like we're going to be able to basically use that to buoy us up to victory right now. We own 60% of their stock right now. We only have to get to 100. I mean, that's as far as you can go. So we invented teleportation here, which should mean that we get an even higher supply of fuel. Now, we are using a lot of water, and we're using a lot of food. With our existing claims, which we have a decent amount of, maybe we might want to, you know, build another water supply here, which will give us plus 1.5 water, and then we can build a farm quickly, and that farm will hopefully mean that we start making a little bit more money as a result of that, because our fuel is coming in fast and furious right now. I'll just liquidate another 100 of that on the market, and at some point, you know, you actually can, if you build a hacker array, which is this right here, you can actually influence the market kind of with subterfuge, and you can say, oh, convince people that there is a shortage of aluminum, and then that will drive the cost of aluminum up. Since we have a freaking 1,000, we could probably, you know, get some advantage as a result of that. But I don't know if I want to commit the resources to actually build a hacker array at this point. Oh, what's going on here? Mr. Patent has required the patent for perpetual motion. So if I remember correctly, via the patent lab, perpetual motion gives you minus 50% power consumption. That's a really good perk. So that's basically what the tech tree is via the patent lab. I don't know, I'm kind of tempted, just because, you know, this game might go on a little bit longer, I'm kind of tempted to do some price manipulation, but actually the price of aluminum has gone up a little bit, so let's just sell it up, and I think I can probably get the win here. You'll have to forgive me for not trying to go too deep here on, like, late game strategy, because mostly I'm just worried about winning. That doesn't happen to me all that much when I play the game, sincerely. So I'm still liquidating a lot of stuff. He's acquired the patent for nanotech. What's nanotech? Recycles resources when scrapping buildings. Alright, so if you decide, you know, for our sake, we might not want any more aluminum, we could scrap this if we had recycling and get resources back for it. This is an auction for a water plot. I'm going to choose to just say no to that. Like, I really don't want to spend money building a hacker array if I'm just going to win anyway. We're not making very much money on our aluminum sales anymore, but, you know, we did very well on steel. Now we need 20,000. This is the rush at the end of the game. Could I liquidate everything I own and get 20,000? I probably can now. We're pretty close. Yeah, there we go. So I'll just buy this, and that means we won the game. I hope I did a decent job of showing off what makes Offworld Trading Company so interesting. That was a, you know, relatively easy AI. I believe that was normal level AI. You know, you get all sorts of stats and graphs at the end. It is early access. Some of the stuff I think could probably use a little bit more, you know, eleganting up, if that makes sense. Like for me, it's a little bit tricky for me to look at this and be like, well, like this graph right here. It's a little bit tricky for me to look at this and be like, oh, okay, I get it. You can look at the map at the end as well and, you know, see how your opponent was doing. They were in a bad position where they needed a lot of iron. Well, I could have helped them out with that. Anyway. Apart from that, let's talk about what else is going on in Offworld Trading Company in its current build. There are tutorials. I've only done the first 3 tutorials. Mostly, like, this one's pretty easy. Expansive and Robotic are the ones that I did. Every one of these tutorials is probably about 20-25 minutes long, and they teach you how to play as a specific class in the game. So I did Expansive and I did Robotic, and I thought that my time would better be served trying to actually get a little bit deeper into the game as Expansive versus, you know, learning how to play as a Scavenger or as Scientific. But I do plan on going back to this stuff as the game gets a little bit further along. Apart from that, there is also a campaign. In your campaign, you can choose one of the 4 classes or styles of play, and the difficulty, of course. And when you start it up here, the campaign screen I do think needs a little bit more, some UI help as well. Basically, each one of these that you can see here is a mission, and I believe by finishing it, you get the perk from that mission, which is, you know, carbon scrubbing in this case. Your labor pool is basically kind of like a persistent tech tree that allows you to improve the efficiency of a building. For example, if you hire a solar panel engineer, then you improve the output of your solar panels by 30% persistently, I think, not just within the mission. These are your opponents, by the way, here, and you can see what they've got going on. So there is persistence here, but it definitely seems like there's a long way to go before it becomes kind of like a more fully fledged campaign mode that's worth playing. Might just be me, but in my opinion thus far, the quick play kind of just like scrimmaging modes have been really fun so far. But you might be able to get something out of the campaign if you you know, are willing to invest yourself past the point of it maybe starting to be a little, you know, floundering. You know, you don't necessarily know 100% what's going on. But yeah, I mean, Offworld Trading Company. Like I said at the start of the video, the top of the video, there's an elephant in the room. It's expensive, it's relatively early, and as such is not necessarily a super attractive purchase in its current state at its current price for a lot of people. That being said, if you divorce that from the game mechanics themselves, this is a super interesting game that I'm very eager to see how it develops here and what ends up happening. I've put in a lot more time on this than I normally invest in Let's Look At. It's because I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I plan on coming back to it after the Let's Look At as well. Like, this is the kind of thing I could totally see myself playing with, you know, Quill, Mathis, and Arumba, in addition to the Paradox stuff. So yeah, I mean, you shouldn't necessarily take these Let's Look At It as just a buying guide, because, you know, if you are taking it as that, definitely what I'm saying is, you know, buyer beware, be cautious with your money. It is an early access game that is at a relatively premium price point. But if you're just looking, you know, for whether or not the game is worth your attention, absolutely. Obviously, there's some stuff that, you know, needs to be kind of propelled a little bit further, but there's a super engaging core of a game here already. It plays fine. It's not very buggy. I mean, it's not. I haven't encountered any bugs at all, as far as I know. Looks nice, sounds nice, and is a totally unique way, at least in my personal experience, of playing the real-time strategy genre. Cool stuff. There will be a link in the video description below to check this out on Steam if you're interested. As always, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. It helps out a great deal. And, of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. But for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.